Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Night Owl Video. I'm just getting over a cold, so my nose is a little stuffy. So I'll be taking some drinks of water throughout this. And I apologize. I was going to upload or do a video yesterday, but I was just too darn sick. So I took the day off and I'm here today, Tuesday, to, catch you up. So 31 Days of Halloween or 31 Days of Horror, whatever the hell that thing's called. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, somebody asked me if I was going to do that, and I was not going to, and I don't know if I'll do it again. I mean, it's hard to commit to watching a horror movie every day. I usually watch one or two movies a day, but not necessarily always horror, so this has been kind of challenging. Plus, I've also been sick, so I've been trying my best, so I hope you'll bear with me. This video will also act as a little thrifting haul. I actually only got 3 things in it this week because I just didn't really find that much this week. So let's jump right into it. 31 Days of Halloween or horror, whatever you call it. October 7th, which was last Monday, I guess, I watched The Initiation. Now, this is a DVD I bought. Before I get too far into this, all the movies I'm watching this month for 31 Days of Halloween are movies I've never watched before as well. So they're movies I added to my collection and have never watched, and they've just been sitting in piles. And this is a double feature from Anchor Bay. I picked this up about a year and a half ago. So I watched The Initiation. I watched Mountaintop Motel Massacre earlier this year, and it wasn't very good, so I'm just skipping that for now. But The Initiation, yes, right there. This is a film from 1984, directed by Larry Stewart. I think, as far as I know, this was his only theatrical director credit. He did, I think, one other made-for-TV movie, and I think he did a bunch of TV stuff. But The Initiation, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is his only theatrical directorial credit. This stars Daphne Zuniga, Vera Miles, Clu Gallagher, of course, from Return of the Living Dead, and James Reed. The Initiation was filmed in Fort Worth and Dallas, Texas, over approximately a 30-day period in the summer of 1983. This movie, Initiation, was overshadowed, apparently. I think it came out the same fall as Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street. And unfortunately for The Initiation, I think it was overshadowed by that film. And I mean, I'm not going to say The Initiation's as good as A Nightmare on Elm Street, but I think that was unfortunate timing for this movie because I think it was pretty good. This movie currently has a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb and a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes. So the synopsis, so I'll read the back of this. The Initiation: sorority pledge Kelly Fairchild, played by Daphne Zuniga of The Sure Thing and Melrose Place, is tormented by a recurring dream that she may hold the key to a violent trauma from her childhood. But when her snooty sorority sisters insist on a prank that involves spending the night in an empty shopping mall, Kelly and her friends are trapped in a real nightmare of horrific carnage that leads to the final shocking secret of the initiation. This also stars Hunter Tylo from The Bold and the Beautiful, as I mentioned, Clu Gallagher, and Vera Miles from Psycho. This is an 80s favorite that delivers the goods with gratuitous nudity, carved up co-eds, and a truly wicked climactic twist. Yeah, I'm really surprised. I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about this movie, and I didn't know anything about it going in, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was really good, actually. I thought this would make a really good double feature with, Chopping Mall or Night of the Comet. Kind of gave me those kind of vibes. Of course, the shopping mall helps. But I thought it was just a really fun movie. I was really invested in the movie. The acting was good. The shopping mall setting for a slasher, of course, if you like those kinds of things. I love mall movies or movies set in malls. Mallrats being one of my favorites from the 90s. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Now, bear in mind, if you haven't watched my video from last week, pretty much every movie I watched last week was god-awful. So This week was not nearly as bad, and I kicked off my week with The Initiation. I thought it was just really good, and I'm really, really happy. I will definitely rewatch that movie. The next movie I watched October 8th was, this is also a double feature, but I watched the movie Mischief Night. This is a Halloween double feature with Art the Clown in his, I believe, his debut of All Hallows Eve, and the second part of the double bill was Mischief Night. This movie was directed by Richard Schenkman, who also directed such gems as Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies and I Spit on Your Grave Part 3 from the remake trilogy. So I'm happy to say I've never seen any of those ones. This stars Ian Bamberg, Noel Cowett, and Adam C. Edwards. This movie, Mischief Night, was mostly just a DVD Blu-ray release. It did have apparently a limited theatrical run when the film was released. It has a 4.6 out of 10 on IMDb, so it got really mixed reviews. This wasn't great. I thought, what was that movie, Hush? I want to know if the director of Hush was inspired by this movie, because, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie that I was like, wait a second, didn't I already see this in that other movie, Hush? This says Daniel Hugh Kelly, who was in Cujo and The Good Son, stars with Ali Walker, who was in Sons of Anarchy, and Noel Cowett, who was in Brother's Keeper, in the pulse-pounding suspense thriller. Traumatized by the death of her mother in a car accident 9 years ago, young M. Walton, played by Cowett, suffers from psychosomatic blindness. Home alone on the night before Halloween, M's plans for a quiet evening take a horrifying turn when an unknown masked intruder materializes and begins to systematically stalk and torment her. As the sadistic killer closes in, M is forced to rely on her remaining heightened senses if she hopes to survive the terrifying darkness of Mischief Night. So yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, it was okay, but I was like, man, did the guy that made, I think the guy that made Hush was it Michael something? Mike something? Because I really liked Hush, but then when I watched this, I was thinking, oh, this is kind of like the straight-to-video version of Hush. Although I don't know if Hush went to the theater, but yeah, it was just kind of I would say if you're going to watch a film like this style, this home invasion style, with the blindness going on, although it was Hush. I'm trying to remember, Hush, was she blind and deaf? I can't remember now, but this was probably the weakest link in my movie watching week this past week. Not terrible, but definitely like, if you can find it on streaming, go for it. I just give a sip of water here. It wasn't terrible, but I'll probably keep that Blu-ray because I like All Hallows Eve, but excuse me. Mischief Night, you can skip that one probably. And that's not to crap on that movie and say, oh, go watch Hush instead, but it might be interesting to watch both of them, make up your own mind, but I would probably lean towards watching Hush again. October 9th, I don't have the DVD to hold up. I actually watched a movie on streaming. Yes, believe it or not, I don't always watch discs. Although, I was thinking the other day, if I have the movie on disc and it's on streaming and I have the remote and I'm like, oh, I could just watch it on Netflix or Disney or whatever. It's like, if I have the disc, I go dig the disc out. I don't know what it is. I just like putting the disc on. But the next movie I watched was Hocus Pocus on October 9th. This is directed by Kenny Ortega, who did Newsies as well as High School Musical 3. This stars Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, Thora Birch. It is a Walt Disney Pictures feature. I think it came out in the summer of 1993. And it was a box office bomb, apparently, when it came out to the theaters. I was not going to the theater around this time for much, and I definitely did not see this movie. And this was the first time watch for me this year, Hocus Pocus. I don't know. I always got the vibe that this probably wasn't going to be for me, and sure as heck, I was right. Look, I know there's a lot of people out there that grew up in the 90s and This is like their jam, and this did, of course, eventually became a cult classic. It currently holds a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb and a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought this movie was really dumb. It's not my cup of tea. But again, I know a lot of people love it, and so I'm not gonna, this is just my opinion. You're welcome to have your opinion. But I just didn't. And again, maybe it's because I didn't grow up with it. Maybe it would be like me saying, oh, I can't believe you didn't like Lost Angels or Saturn 3 or something. You didn't grow up with those movies. You watch them now and you go, oh my God, this is the worst crap I've ever seen in my life. Hocus Pocus, I think it's like a nostalgia thing for a lot of people who were maybe kids in the 90s. It's, I guess, kind of Halloween-y and kind of nostalgic, and it gets you in the mood for Halloween. And but for me, I don't know. I didn't care for it. I know there's a remake that came out a couple of years, or a sequel that came out a couple of years ago, and that got, I think, bad reviews. I'm definitely not going to bother watching that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess if you have little kids maybe or something now, you could throw it on and they probably dig it. But just not my jam. Sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. I know. Again, I know a lot of people love that movie, and I'm trying to think of like, oh, maybe be like Charlie Brown for me or something like the Thanksgiving or Charlie Brown. Like, if I played that for somebody who is like 20 now, they might be like, ugh. But for me, it's like the nostalgia and the Halloween season and all that stuff. It just gets me ramped up for that. So anyway, Hocus Pocus, not a fan, but respect to people who love it. The next movie I got up, this is actually part of my thrifting haul this week, and that is Maxine. This movie stars Mia Goth, Michelle Monaghan, who was in Mission Impossible Fallout, as well as Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Kevin Bacon, who was in Apollo 13 and X-Men First Class, Lily Collins, who was in Abduction and Mirror Mirror, and of course Mia Goth, who was in X and Pearl, and now Maxine. This is the third installment of this Ty West trilogy. This did not come to my movie theater where I live, because I live in a small rinky-dink little town, and we're not getting Terrifier 3 by the looks of it. We barely got a long leg, so I had to wait for this to come out on Blu-ray, unfortunately. But I'm probably okay watching this on Blu-ray. I'd say this was probably the weakest link for me in the trilogy. I really liked X. I quite liked Pearl. And I thought this one was a decent film. This is not, to me, the other two felt like horror movies. This felt more like just a sort of a thriller. This is in 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress Maxine Minks finally gets her big break. But as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. But this is, what's his name there, the Night Stalker killer. So yeah, I didn't really find this to be like not really a horror movie. It's more of like a thriller, which is fine. The thing I really did like about this, and I'll say hats off to Ty West, and I hope younger people who are obsessed with the 80s watch this movie, because dude, this movie actually captures what the 80s looked like. It's not neon blue and pink and Ataris and like sunsets with like that awful like retro wave whatever crap. This actually is like, oh, I watched this and I thought, oh yeah, this is like definitely true to the 80s. Like, it's gritty and grimy and everything's disgusting and everything's just gross and the sex is gross and it's just nasty 80s stuff. And I thought for once, I was like, okay, here's a movie that's like an 80s throwback that actually portrays the 80s as it was, which was just an extension of the 70s, gritty, grimy, porno, serial killers, dirty streets. Like, this is the deal, not the retro wave purple and pinks and the everybody's beautiful and the cars are cool. Like this really captured it for me. And so I was like, man, I hope a lot of people who have this kind of false sense of what the 80s looked like watch this and go, oh, that's what the 80s actually looked like. Okay, cool. So I actually really appreciated that element of it. Of course, I thought Mia Goth was great in this. She's I mean, so far everything I've seen in her, I've seen her in. Um, I think she's a great actress, and I love her in this role. Kevin Bacon kind of just came out of nowhere here, and he was also really good. He was a private investigator. There's a bit of gore at the end with, I don't want to give it away because it's a new movie, but yeah, I thought this was really good. It was a solid thriller. I don't, like, I can't picture myself watching X and Pearl and Maxine as a trilogy on a rainy Saturday or something, but if I was in the mood for like an 80s thriller with, you know, a serial killer and some 80s porn and that kind of stuff, I guess this would be the jam. This movie currently has a 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb and a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I think it did score a little lower than the other films in the trilogy. The next movie I watched, October the 11th, was also a first-time watch for me, and that was the movie Edge of Sanity, starring Anthony Perkins. It says, "Beware the Beast Within," Anthony Perkins. This is directed by Gerard Kikoin, who also directed Buried Alive. I didn't really see many other director credits. I think he did a lot of, I don't know what the deal is with this person, but this stars Anthony Perkins, Glynis Barber, and David Lodge, but mostly it stars Anthony Perkins. It mixes elements of Robert Louis Stevenson's 1886 novella Strange Case of Jekyll and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and also mixes in tales of Jack the Ripper. Leonard Maltin described this film as, quote, tasteless, pointless, and unpleasant, unquote. And I'm going to go on record and stand against Leonard Maltin. I actually thought this was really fun, like in a sick, perverted, twisted way. Anthony Perkins was just crazy in this, playing the sort of Jekyll and Hyde character and going out at night and killing prostitutes and going to brothels and switching back and forth between these personas, and his wife's trying to figure out, like, what is this guy doing? Legendary actor Anthony Perkins' Psycho is perfect, says LA Herald Examiner, as an outwardly rational Dr. Jekyll who rapidly descends into a world of sexual obsession and murder as Mr. Hyde, and who may also be Jack the Ripper. A shocking new twist on one of the most infamous crime stories of all time, this terrifying thriller will keep you on the cutting edge of fear. After a lab experiment unleashes mysterious fumes, Dr. Henry Jekyll undergoes a horrifying transformation into a savage alter ego who calls himself Jack Hyde. Meanwhile, the depraved killer Jack the Ripper is slicing his way through the alleys of Whitechapel, leaving mutilated streetwalkers in his wake. Is there a connection between Jekyll and Hyde and Jack the Ripper? Can anyone stop his reign of terror? And I don't know if you can see it on the back, but like Anthony Perkins, oh my God, his performance and the makeup. And yeah, at times it was maybe a little over the top, like easing into camp territory, but I thought it was a really cool movie. And it's weird, I've never seen this movie before. I don't really hear anyone talk about this movie, for that matter, in the horror community. I don't know if this has a Blu-ray or a 4K or anything, but I'm probably going to guess no. This is rated 18 in Canada, runtime of 1 hour, 31 minutes. Highly recommend Edge of Sanity if you like Jekyll and Hyde, if you like Anthony Perkins, if you like that spooky, history and Jack the Ripper and all that stuff. Trying to think. I don't know if this would be a good double feature with like Sleepy Hollow or something. I think Sleepy Hollow is a little more tame, but it kind of gave me those vibes. I've never seen, what's that one, Sweeney Todd. Maybe it would go well with that. But yeah, I thought it was a clever little thriller, mixing the two legends together of Jekyll and Hyde and Jack the Ripper, and kind of an interesting take on the whole thing. And again, Anthony Perkins just takes the cake on that one. Yeah, I didn't get the ratings for that one, but The next movie I watched was on streaming. It was Salem's Lot. No, it wasn't this Salem's Lot. It was the new Salem's Lot from 2024. This movie was directed by Gary Doberman, who directed Annabelle Comes Home, and he wrote all of the Annabelle movies, as well as the 2 It remakes. This stars Lewis Pullman, Mackenzie Lee, and William Sadler. You may recognize William Sadler's name from Shawshank Redemption and Green Mile, among others. This movie got delayed a bunch of times, and it was going to be in the theater, and then it was going to be just streaming, and apparently Stephen King was getting kind of ticked off because what's the delay in putting this out? He's like, I just write the stories. Where's the damn movie? What's the delay? I know pretty sure COVID had something to do with it in the early days, and then it went straight to streaming for some reason, and what a disappointment. Now, I'm gonna be totally transparent here right now. I did not see Salem's Lot. I believe this is from 1979, with David Soul from Starsky and Hutch, directed by Tobe Hooper. I wasn't a big fan of this movie. I think I did a review of this a year or two ago on my channel. This might be one of those ones like I missed it as a kid or a teenager, and it just didn't have the impact on me. This was a made-for-TV movie. It's really long. I found it really boring. The new Salem's Lot was like, to me, like, and I know this is blasphemy for a lot of people, but I thought the new Salem's Lot 2024 was great. I thought this was a really fun throwback style, like, horror movie. This is, and not even like a particular throwback to a particular era, but just like a really well-made horror movie, a really well-made vampire movie. It unlike this one, I found like the pacing was good. It just, and maybe that was a complaint from some people, is that it tried to cram too much in too quick, but I thought this was really fun. I was full on engaged. I told my friend Tanya, I was like, girl, you gotta go watch this movie. And I've actually told a bunch of other people too. This movie was so good, and I thought really creepy. The vampire stuff in it was really spooky. The makeup, I think most of it's practical effects. The mood of the movie, the tone, the music, everything about it. I love this movie. I'm definitely probably going to rewatch this before Halloween this year. Again, I loved it that much. I hope it gets a physical media release, although it's hard to say. But yeah, if you're on the fence about Salem's Lot 2024, go watch it if you've got it. I think it's on, I want to say Crave in Canada. Go watch it. I thought it was so fun, so spooky, perfect kind of like, get cozy, get a warm beverage, chill out, and turn the lights down, put on some Halloween lights, and just chill out and let yourself get lost in it, because I thought it was super fun, super creepy. Again, like I was watching it in my bed, and towards the end, I was like sitting on the end of my bed, get closer to the TV, because I was like that on the edge of my bed, if you will. But I thought it was great. I know I'm probably in the minority, and a lot of people prefer the 70s one, but just me, again, just my opinion. It's incredible. So that was Salem's Lot. Like I said, it only has a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes. Kind of surprised by that. October 13th, 31 Days of Halloween from 1993. I finally got around to watching The Dark Half. So Salem's Lot is based on a story by Stephen King. The Dark Half is also based on a story by Stephen King. This was directed by George Romero, of course, Night of the Living Dead, starring Timothy Hutton, Amy Madigan, Julie Harris, and Michael Rooker. I know people probably think of Michael Rooker from other things, but I always think of him as the dad in Mallrats. Speaking of Mallrats. This movie currently has a 6 out of 10 on IMDb and a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I said, based on a story by Stephen King. The character that Michael Rooker plays actually in the movie also makes an appearance in the other Stephen King film, Needful Things. But in that film, the character is portrayed by Ed Harris. That's what I got off the internet anyway. I think I avoided this movie. A lot of people said this movie was really bad, and so I just avoided it. You know what's weird? I always thought that was Stephen King on the cover, but I can see clearly now. I can see clearly now. It's Timothy Hutton, I guess. Can you see that a little bit? I don't know. It says there are very good reasons to be afraid of the dark. From the story by Stephen King, directed by master horror film director George A. Romero, The Dark Half. This was okay, I guess. I didn't think it was nearly as bad as what people made it out to be. I thought Timothy Hutton, he's kind of a plain guy actor. He's not really like jumping off the screen or anything, but I thought he did a solid performance in it. It says, the master of suspense, Stephen King, triumphs in this riveting tale of a man possessed. Thad Beaumont, played by Timothy Hutton, is a college professor who moonlights as a writer of pop thrillers under the pseudonym George Stark. When Thad finally writes a serious novel, he decides it's time to stop writing shockers. But not everyone is pleased. George Stark has come to life in a deadly way. He doesn't want to die, so he turns to violent and desperate acts to prove his point. Thad is suddenly forced to battle his own creation for the control of the mind, which both must share. As Thad and his wife, played by Amy Madigan, get pulled deeper into this harrowing nightmare, they learn about secrets in Thad's past which have led to the fear that now engulfs him. Thad must fight an enemy who knows his every thought and move as he races to end the bloody reign of terror. Isn't that what the other one said? Did Edge of Sanity say reign of terror? Or am I imagining that? Yeah, no, it did too. That's funny. Just a coincidence, I guess, but yeah, so I mean, this movie's been out for a long time, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying that Timothy Hutton's character had like a 2 personality. I think like, I forget what that thing is where it's like a birth defect, but it's like a second fetus is like absorbed by another fetus, and so in the film they do this surgery and they find like part of the other fetus like in his skull or something, or I don't know. It was kind of weird. So yeah, so it's basically like, well, actually kind of Jekyll and Hyde a little bit. But yeah, I thought this was okay. I can't picture myself rewatching this. I just thought it was okay, but I have one person that left a comment saying that they love this movie, so shout out to you. But I don't really hear a lot of people talk about this. I feel like this falls into that like Sleepwalkers, Tommyknockers, just all of those Stephen King adaptations in the 80s and 90s that people don't really talk about much anymore. But I thought it was okay. And then the last 2 movies I watched October 14th. So I watched 2, and you'll understand why in a minute. I watched Frank and Weenie, the original Tim Burton short film, which has, what's their names there? Shelley Duvall, Daniel Stern, and also starring Barrett Oliver. I guess he's the kid, based on a story by Tim Burton. This movie is only 27 minutes long. A comic twist on a classic tale. So yeah, this is a homage to Frankenstein. Excuse me. Frank and Weenie. So this came out a really long time ago. I think when like, does it say? I thought it was like early 90s maybe. Early 90s. I think it was like 93 or something. And then they did redo this as a full-length animated feature, Frank and Weenie, in 2012. Yes, also directed by Tim Burton. That film has voice stars Catherine O'Hara, Martin Short, Martin Landau, and Winona Ryder. Like I said, it's an homage to Frankenstein. The 2012 version holds a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb and an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's a fairly well-liked movie. It's stop-motion animation. This one's a live-action version, which is cool in black and white. I quite like both of them. I really like this one. I always have. And I really liked the animated one that sort of expanded the story and was able to add in a bunch of stuff that wasn't in the animated, or the original short, I should say. Yeah, so I'll read the back just quick. Disney presents a comic twist on a classic tale from Tim Burton, the director of the comedy hits Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Edward Scissorhands. Meet Sparky, an ordinary family dog who, through an extraordinary set of circumstances, becomes Frankenweenie. He and the Frankenstein family share an exciting yet bizarre adventure that makes this one of the most outrageously funny films you've ever seen. It stars young Barrett Oliver from The Neverending Story. That's right, that's where I recognize him from. Home Alone's Daniel Stern and Shelley Duvall from Popeye, although I'd say The Shining. And also, rest in peace, she passed away recently. As his parents, let Frankenweenie give your funny bone a jolt. It'll have your entire family in stitches. That's a joke because he has stitches. But yeah, both Frankenweenies, I mean, I really like Tim Burton, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I really liked it. So, and like I said in my previous videos, I've been watching a lot more like family-friendly horror and stuff like that. So this kind of fit the mood. And like I said, I was sick this past weekend, so it was kind of nice to just watch something that was a little like cutesy. So that, oh God, I keep swallowing my damn hair. But that was I'm going to get a haircut later, so I'm excited. But that was my next chapter, my 31 days of Halloween or horror or whatever. So we're up to October 14th now. We've got a couple more weeks to go. So I hope you will come back and see my video next week. As far as thrifting, I didn't get a lot. So as I mentioned earlier, I did pick up the Maxine Blu-ray. I was happy to see it was only $21.99 at my Walmart, because lately Walmart's been really jacking the prices up on these things. Most new horror Blu-rays, like Longlegs, was like $26.99 or something. I have a really hard time paying that much for one movie, but I really, really wanted to see this. I'm really glad I've got it in my collection. And then the only other two things that I got, gosh darn it, the only other two things I got in my thrifting haul, which really aren't thrifting, while I got Maxine, I also got the DVD of Late Night with the Devil. I talked about this a few weeks ago. I watched this on streaming a couple weeks ago, so I haven't watched the DVD. I'll save this for some time down the road, but they didn't have the Blu-ray at my Walmart, so I just decided to grab the DVD. I don't know if there is a Blu-ray, but yeah, this is like a IFC Shudder movie. It's on the Shudder streaming service in Canada, so if you have that, I highly recommend checking that one out. And like I said, I did watch it and talk about it a few weeks ago, so if you want to hear my thoughts on it, go back a few videos. And then the only other thing I found was Metallica Cliff 'Em All. And you guys can tell me it or not. This, to me, the back makes it look like this might have been part of like a box set or something. I don't know. There's the inside there. This is... this has like live performances from 85, 86, Creeping Death, Am I Evil, Damage Incorporated, Seek and Destroy, all those great classics from Metallica. I like 80s Metallica, I'll leave it at that. I go up to And Justice for All. After that, I check out. I'm sorry, guys, but I don't know if I've ever seen this or not. You don't see this around very often, but the back almost makes me think that this was part of a box set or something, because there's really not a lot of information on it, unless they did that deliberately to make it look weird or something. I don't know. I think it's it's not water damaged, but it's like bent or something. I don't know. But anyway, I do love early Metallica, so I grabbed that from my local Value Village. Guys, sorry if the video ran a little long this week, but I had a lot to say and a lot of good movies this week, so that was kind of pleasant for a change, considering last week was such a bust. So tune in again next Monday, Tuesday-ish, and I will post another 31 Days of Halloween video, and we'll talk... I'll talk about the movies I watched. Feel free to leave in the comments below what you're watching this week, or maybe just any of the movies I watched are your favorites, you can leave comments, or if you didn't like them, you can leave comments, or if you think I'm crazy for liking Salem's Lot 2024 over Salem's Lot 1979. Don't be too mean, though, because, again, it's just an opinion. That's all. Gearing up for the Halloween season. The Halloween's coming up right up, so very exciting time. And that's it for today. If you stuck around to the very end, good job. Thank you so much for watching all of this. And I will be back next week with an all-new video. If you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing to my channel. Give me the thumbs up if you like this kind of content or this video. Follow me over on Instagram at Night Owl Video, where I post occasionally. But make sure to subscribe and put on that bell notification so you can keep up to date with the videos I release. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I will see you at the video store or at the thrift store or just out and about somewhere. But until next time, take good care of yourselves and your loved ones. Happy Thanksgiving as well. Happy belated Thanksgiving here in Canada. And until next time, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you next video.